For centuries, a missing object has fueled questions, faith, fear, and imagination. It was not merely a sacred chest. For ancient Israel, the Ark of the Covenant represented presence, covenant, memory, and spiritual authority. According to biblical tradition, it held the tablets of the law received by Moses and occupied the most sacred place of Israelite worship, the Holy of Holies. But there is a question that has crossed empires, wars, destruction, and centuries of silence. Where is the Ark of the Covenant? What is most impressive is that the story of the Ark does not end with a clear answer. It simply disappears from the center of the narrative. There is no archaeological record confirming its current location. There is no discovery recognized by academic consensus. There is no inscription saying, "Here is the Ark." What exists are clues, traditions, ancient texts, places associated with its memory, and many theories that must be handled with care. In this video, we are not going to say that the Ark has been found, nor are we going to turn faith into sensationalism. The path here is different, to separate what biblical tradition affirms, what archaeology allows us to investigate, and where hypotheses begin. Because sometimes, the greatest mystery of archaeology is not only the lost object, but the silence it left behind. The Ark of the Covenant disappeared, but some clues still exist. Before searching for where the Ark might be, it is necessary to understand why it became one of the most mysterious objects in history. According to Judeo-Christian tradition, the Ark of the Covenant was a sacred chest made of wood overlaid with gold, associated with the tablets of the Ten Commandments received by Moses. Britannica describes the Ark as a wooden chest plated with gold that, in Jewish and Christian tradition, held these tablets of the law. But for ancient Israel, it was not merely a religious container. The Ark represented covenant, memory, and divine presence. It was located in the most sacred space of worship, first associated with the tabernacle and later with the Temple in Jerusalem. The Holy of Holies was considered the most sacred place of the Temple, and access to it was extremely restricted. For this reason, speaking about the Ark is not just speaking about a lost object. It is speaking about a central piece of Israel's religious identity, an object that appears in narratives of pilgrimage, war, worship, victory, fear, and reverence. The Bible describes the Ark being carried, guarded, feared, and celebrated. It appears as a symbol of a people in motion, trying to understand their relationship with God in the midst of the desert, battles, and the formation of a nation. And here the mystery begins. Such an important, sacred, and central object disappears without leaving a definitive conclusion. There is no recognized excavation that has found the Ark. There is no academic consensus about its location. What we have are texts, traditions, sites associated with its trajectory, and questions that remain open. This is the point that makes the story so powerful. The Ark of the Covenant is not just a lost treasure, it is a historical void surrounded by clues. And every serious investigation needs to begin by separating three things: what the biblical text reports, what archaeology can investigate, and what belongs to the realm of religious tradition. When these three layers are mixed carelessly, the video becomes sensationalism. But when they are separated, the story becomes even stronger. Because the truth is that the mystery of the Ark does not need to be invented. It is already deep enough. The trajectory of the Ark of the Covenant begins linked to the period of the Exodus, to the desert, and to the tabernacle. According to the biblical account, it accompanied Israel as a sign of the covenant established between God and the people. It was not treated as a common object. It was carried with care, placed in a sacred place, and surrounded by religious norms that expressed reverence, fear, and separation. Over time, the Ark also appears in battle narratives. One of the most striking episodes is found in 1 Samuel, when it is taken to the battlefield against the Philistines. The expectation was that its presence would guarantee victory, but the result was the opposite. Israel was defeated, and the Ark was captured. This episode shows something important for the narrative. The Ark was not presented only as a symbol of power, but also as an object surrounded by spiritual tension and responsibility. After that, still according to the biblical text, the Ark returns to Israelite territory and passes through different places until it reaches Quiriate-Jearim. This point is very important for an archaeological approach because Quiriate-Jearim is one of the few places directly associated with the trajectory of the Ark that have received modern academic investigation. Tel Aviv University presents the site as identified with the biblical location where the Ark would have remained, according to 1 Samuel 7:1. Later, the Ark is taken to Jerusalem during the reign of David. This movement has political and religious weight. Jerusalem becomes a center of power, worship, and national identity. The arrival of the Ark in the city is not just a displacement of a sacred object, it is a change of symbolic center. The city of David begins to occupy a central place in the religious memory of Israel. After that, during the reign of Solomon, the Ark is associated with the Temple of Jerusalem. According to biblical tradition, it is placed in the Holy of Holies, the most sacred space of the temple. There, its presence gains even more strength. It ceases to be an object in movement and becomes linked to the heart of Israelite worship. And it is exactly at this point that the mystery begins to deepen, because after occupying the most sacred place of the temple, the Ark simply disappears from the historical narrative in a definitive way. When Jerusalem is destroyed by the Babylonians in the 6th century before Christ, many objects of the temple are mentioned as looted or taken, but the Ark does not appear clearly in that list. This silence is what opens the great question of our video. If the Ark was in the Holy of Holies, what happened to it before or during the destruction of Jerusalem? Was it hidden? Was it destroyed? Was it taken? Or was it no longer there when the Babylonians arrived? When the army of the Babylonian Empire advanced against Jerusalem in the 6th century before Christ, the fate of the city was already practically sealed. The destruction was extensive, the temple was looted, and many sacred objects were taken as a symbol of victory. This episode is known as the Fall of Jerusalem, around 586 BC, one of the most significant moments in the history of ancient Israel. Historical and biblical texts describe the looting of the temple's utensils. Gold, silver, ritual objects, everything is mentioned. But there is one detail that draws attention. The Ark of the Covenant does not appear clearly among the items taken. This silence is not small. It is the starting point of one of the greatest mysteries in archaeology and religious tradition. This opens up some possibilities. The first is straightforward. The Ark could have been destroyed during the attack. In the midst of a violent siege, fires, and structural collapse, it would not be impossible for it to have simply disappeared without leaving identifiable traces. But this hypothesis faces a problem. Other objects were recorded, described, and listed. Why was the most important one not? The second possibility is more intriguing. The Ark may have been removed before the invasion. This idea appears in later traditions and in interpretations of ancient texts. Some lines suggest that priests could have hidden the Ark to protect it from the imminent destruction. In this scenario, it would have left the Holy of Holies even before the Babylonians arrived. There is also a third line, more cautious, adopted by many scholars. We simply do not know. The absence of direct archaeological evidence prevents any definitive statement. Archaeology works with what is found, documented, and analyzed. And to this day, there is no recognized discovery that confirms the final whereabouts of the Ark. This point is essential to keep the analysis within a serious standard. The mystery of the Ark is not only in what may have happened to it, but in the fact that there is no academic consensus on any of these hypotheses. The silence of the sources is, in itself, a form of evidence, not of an answer, but of a limit. And it is precisely this limit that transforms the story into something even more powerful. Because when a central object disappears without a clear explanation, it leaves behind an open space. A space that, over the centuries, has been filled with investigations, excavations, traditions, and theories. And that is what we are going to explore now. The clues that emerged after this disappearance, and what archaeology can actually say about them. When we talk about the Ark of the Covenant, we need to be very careful with one word: proof. To this day, no recognized excavation has found the Ark. No museum possesses an artifact academically accepted as being the Ark. No ancient inscription confirms its final whereabouts. For this reason, the most serious path is not to look for miraculous headlines, but to follow the possible clues. One of these clues is found in Quiriate-Jearim, a site associated with the period in which the Ark would have remained before being taken to Jerusalem. The archaeological site of Quiriate-Jearim is studied by a mission linked to Tel Aviv University and the Collège de France. Under the direction of researchers such as Israel Finkelstein, Christophe Nicole and Thomas Romer. According to the Collège de France, the Bible associates Quiriate-Jearim with the place where the Ark would have stayed, before being transferred to Jerusalem and then disappearing from history. This information does not prove where the Ark is today, but it shows that there is academic investigation in one of the most important points of its trajectory. And here is the detail that makes this clue so strong for a documentary. Quiriate-Jearim is not an internet theory. It is a real archaeological site studied by academic institutions with excavations, reports, and scientific debate. This gives the script a solid foundation without the need to invent anything, but we also need to say clearly, excavating a location associated with the Ark does not mean finding the Ark. Archaeology can reveal ancient occupations, platforms, walls, structures, and layers of human use. It can show that a place was important in the biblical period, but that is different from claiming that the sacred object was found there. This is the kind of honesty that strengthens the channel. Instead of saying the Ark was found, we say one of the places linked to the memory of the Ark is being investigated by modern archaeology. This keeps the mystery alive, without turning hypothesis into falsehood. And perhaps this is exactly where the strength of the story lies. The Ark remains missing, but some places connected to its path can still be studied. We do not have the object, but we have traces of memory, biblical geography, ancient traditions, and sites that help reconstruct the world through which this story passed. After the disappearance of the Ark, the story entered a delicate territory. Here, we are no longer dealing with a confirmed archaeological trail, but with religious traditions, historical hypotheses, and later interpretations. And it is precisely at this point that many videos go wrong. They turn possibility into certainty. To maintain authenticity, we need to be clear. To this day, there is no recognized archaeological proof that the Ark of the Covenant has been found. The most well-known tradition points to Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian tradition, the Ark would have been taken to Axum and would be associated with the Church of St. Mary of Zion. Britannica records this tradition, but also presents the case as a religious belief and Ethiopian historical tradition, not as publicly confirmed archaeological evidence. This tradition is powerful because it involves the ancient kingdom of Axum, Ethiopian Christianity, and the work known as the Kebra Nagast, or Glory of the Kings. In this narrative, Menelik I, traditionally associated as the son of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, would have taken the Ark to Ethiopia. It is an ancient, influential story, deeply respected within Ethiopian tradition. But from an archaeological perspective, it remains without independent verification. Another hypothesis claims that the Ark may have been hidden before the destruction of Jerusalem. This idea comes from a logical question. If the Temple was looted by the Babylonians, why does the Ark not appear clearly among the items taken? Some scholars and traditions suggest that priests may have concealed it in tunnels, underground chambers, or secret locations near the Temple. But again, this is hypothesis, not confirmed discovery. There are also theories linked to the desert, the Dead Sea, and ancient caves. These theories gained strength because important documents and objects were indeed found in caves in that region, as happened with the Dead Sea Scrolls. But finding ancient texts in caves does not mean that the Ark is also there. It is a possibility imagined by some, but not an archaeological conclusion. And perhaps the most honest point is this. The silence of the sources does not prove that the Ark was destroyed, but it also does not prove that it was hidden. What it proves is the limit of our knowledge. Archaeology works with material remains, and in the case of the Ark, the central material evidence has not appeared. For this reason, a serious documentary must proceed with balance. The Ethiopian tradition can be presented. The hypothesis of a hiding place in Jerusalem can be explained. The theories related to the desert can be mentioned, but none of them should be presented as a proven fact. The real suspense lies precisely here. There is no final answer. There is an object that was central to the faith of Israel that disappeared from the historical record and left behind a trail of memories, sacred places, traditions, and questions. And the more we try to find the Ark, the more we realize that perhaps the greatest mystery is not only where it is, but why its disappearance was recorded through silence. After going through ancient texts, excavations, traditions, and hypotheses, one thing becomes clear. The Ark of the Covenant remains one of the greatest mysteries in history, not because there are no stories about it, but because there is a lack of conclusive evidence about its final fate. Based on biblical tradition, we know that it occupied the most sacred place of worship in Jerusalem. We know that it was connected to the Temple and to the heart of Israel's faith. We also know that after the destruction of the city by the Babylonian Empire, many objects were taken, but the Ark does not appear clearly in the records. To this day, archaeology has not presented a recognized discovery that definitively identifies the Ark. There is no academic consensus. There is no archaeological site that has produced accepted proof. And this does not weaken the story. On the contrary, it makes it even more intriguing. Over the centuries, different paths have attempted to fill this silence. The Ethiopian tradition, associated with the city of Axum, maintains that the Ark was preserved and kept. Other hypotheses suggest hiding places near Jerusalem. There are also theories pointing to desert regions and ancient caves, but all of these lines, although fascinating, remain in the realm of tradition or hypothesis. And perhaps it is exactly here that archaeology teaches us something important. Not every mystery requires an immediate answer. In many cases, what we have are fragments, remains, places, texts, and a space between them that has not yet been filled. The story of the Ark of the Covenant is not only about a lost object, it is about the limits of what we can prove, about the meeting point between faith, memory, and evidence, about what remains even when the object disappears. And while excavations continue, while new studies emerge, and while questions remain open, one thing is certain. The mystery of the Ark is not over. If you want to continue exploring stories where archaeology meets the past in a real way, without exaggeration, without invention, but with depth, this channel is for that. Here, we do not try to prove everything, but we also do not ignore what can be discovered. And perhaps somewhere the answer is still waiting to be found.